podcast, but y'all already know that because y'all can read because we have educated you guys so well. I, of course, am Micaiah Schlicker. That is Simeon Schlicker. We are
Hello.
the dynamic duo. We are coming to you live from Lititz, Pennsylvania, home of the most porta potty per capita in the world. For every one person, there are 10 porta potties. It's a pretty stinky town.
That's a lot of porta potties.
Yeah, between the porta potties and Batman, or what do we call him around here? Crap Man, because he wears a diaper. It's a pretty interesting town.
And the Streakers, don't forget
the Streakers. And much like the Streakers, we're both not wearing pants. We're doing this podcast pantless today, ladies and gentlemen.
It is pantless. It is early. We partied last night. Well, at least I did. And
oh no, it's Thursday night. I got a nice 4-day weekend. So yeah, there was partying on my side as well.
All right, we're ready to go. We're about to have a lot of fun. We want to start off with NBA stuff, right?
Yeah, NBA is kind of in the thick of it, in the playoff hunt. So we made our playoff picks last week. And
boy, were we wrong.
Well, actually, we weren't. Well, so the series are going wrong, but we picked the play-in tournament, the last games of the play-in tournament, and we all picked the Warriors to beat the Grizzlies. And now you can say that again.
Boy, were we wrong.
So
I'll allow it.
Steph Curry, there was conversation before the game that with the career arc he's having and the MVP type season he had this year, with the lack of talent that was on his team, bless you.
Thank you.
That he should be one of the top 10 all-time greats. So when you're ranking all the NBA players throughout history, that he should be somewhere in the top 10. And he lost, the Warriors, as we said, lost that game to the Memphis Grizzlies. He had 35 points. He had 7 assists. The problem is he also had 7 turnovers. Draymond Green had almost a triple-double, but had another 6 turnovers. They did not play well. The Grizzlies kind of showed more poise than they did. Ja Morant, the youngster of the team, who Simeon, you and I talked about who was the next guy to take over the league. Well, Ja Morant definitely.
It's looking like him.
It's either Ja or Luka at this point. Yeah. Sure. So he's definitely in that conversation, especially after what he did. He hit the game winner with like 4 seconds left. And they advanced to take on now the Utah Jazz, which we'll get to in a minute. The problem I have is all-time greats don't lose that game, right? LeBron didn't lose his game to Steph 2 nights prior. Michael Jordan would have never lost that game.
Yeah.
Magic would have never lost that game. Dwayne Wade doesn't lose that game. Okay.
Now, I disagree about Dwayne Wade. And here's my answer to your question that you're posing. Because you're posing basically, is he a great because he lost the game? Yo, fam, we're soft now. And we shouldn't be, don't get me wrong. But as human beings, I could go into a whole philosophical thing of why we're soft now. But
please don't.
We're not. That's not the podcast. But we're soft now. And I'm surprised, the fact that LeBron James still, we can go into Russell Westbrook being a crybaby if you want to, but it doesn't surprise me. I don't think it pulls him out of the conversation. I don't think it puts him at the top, but I never put him at the top for me. I think he's always been the greatest shooter of all time for me.
But there was conversations before the game on the sports talk shows around the more specifically at ESPN that he was entering that conversation of being one of the top 10 all-time greats. But my problem is Shaq's never losing that game. Kobe's never losing that game.
I never put him in the top 10. I barely put him in the top 20. I put him in the conversation. The conversation is he's the greatest shooter who's changed the game. He's a game molder.
He's the greatest shooter of all time. I'll give you that. But I think that there was something to be said that because he is the greatest shooter of all time, he needs to enter that conversation, right? And
he should. I agree that he should be doing.
But I'm saying because he lost that game, he can't be in this conversation anymore.
Yeah, that's fair.
He is one of the all-time greats, just not in the top 10.
No. Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Kareem's not losing that game. Magic's not losing that game. So I kind of just wanted to start there because Steph's a great player, but unfortunately, because I texted Jeb, who's been on the show, right after the game, and I said, it's a huge knock on his legacy. Like
100%.
Like it has to be. And you want to flip it. This is a huge, what's the opposite of a knock? A notch
in the belt.
Yeah, a notch in the belt in Ja Morant's career.
It's a jumping block in the start of his story.
Oh yeah,
for his
I
career.
mean he and Dylan Brooks, who was also he played fantastic that whole game guarding Steph Curry.
Everybody played the way that they needed
for the Grizzlies, and then Ja took the shot, and nothing phased Ja.
The dude's 21-year-old.
He's a monster.
21 years old, sorry.
He's a monster. Before we really dive in here, I do want to kind of ask a palate cleanser question, which Carrie proposed to me earlier this morning. Would you rather have hot dogs for fingers or for toes?
Toes. Now, are they full-size hot dogs or are they toe-sized hot dogs?
No, they're full-size hot dogs.
I'm trying to... Now I'm rethinking my... I mean, I couldn't run anymore. So they're full-size. Like, I now have, 7 to 8 inches of extra length.
Of hot dog toes.
Yeah, I still go with toes. I need my hands.
All right. Well, comment down below. Would you go hot dogs for fingers or hot dogs for toes?
Yeah, that's a fair.
I think I would. I think I would do toes still.
I concur. Like I need my hands, and just having a on my hand would not be helpful.
Even though they're
even though they're moving, okay, now if they still have bones in them and stuff, but they were the size of hot dogs, that's a different story. Like if
some
still
people
moving,
have hot dogs fingers,
right?
Like we all know those people with hot dog fingers. Yeah,
they're fat, they're swollen, and they're
cancel Simeon.
If they were,
he implied there are fat people. Yeah. Body shaming. Simeon's body shaming. Cancel him. Cancel the 4th and 1 podcast. You don't got to cancel us. No one listens to us anyway.
Whoa. That's not true.
10
Mom
people.
does.
Mom does. Hi, Mom.
Sorry, Mom.
It became personal with me.
Oh, and now we're back on repeating
you know what?
and
my life
looping.
Can't be, my life can't be perfect, okay?
I'd like to take this time to apologize to absolutely nobody.
Oh,
The Democrat does what he wants.
And it's still broken.
Well, yeah, I didn't change that one. I didn't change it because it's funny or broken. It's better broken.
Everyone, you know this podcast as the two guys making wild accusations and then apologizing for them later. So we're about to make some more wild accusations. Actually, no, we're not. What Simeon's going to do is we're going to talk about the NBA playoff series. Each one, I'm going to give you kind of a synopsis of what's going on right now. Oh, by the way, Tabitha, Gamer Girl, for those of you who are checking in for this, Gamer Girl is currently 3 for 3 in her NHL picks. Currently.
Good for her. Yeah. I didn't know. I didn't get to pick that up. But yeah, that
every time a team advances, she's been sending me a text. It started 1 for 1, 2 for 2, and now it's 3 for 3. So
yeah, some of those teams have been eating themselves. Let's just put it that way. I can't think of anything funny. I can't think of anything funny, dude. I just woke up. Okay,
we're not wearing pants,
and we're not wearing pants.
Let's get it
Michigan
started.
Stadium. is the biggest in the world.
Yeah, our stadium's bigger than your stadium, even though I've never gone to Michigan whatsoever.
Okay, hold up. Real quick, before we jump into that, Pennsylvania sucks.
Hang on.
Okay.
Wait. Yes, but why?
I'll allow it.
It's Micaiah right now. Okay, so their sports suck, besides apparently Philly, the 76ers. But
Jury's
we all
still
know
out
they're
there.
lose
Yep.
Yep. Yeah, we all know they're going to lose in the second round. It's okay.
Yep.
So here's the deal, okay? Let's walk through the major sports, what everybody watches, okay?
Sure.
We're talking stadium. Third biggest stadium in the world. Really second, because no one counts North Korea. Third biggest stadium in the world.
You're talking about Penn State?
Is Beaver Stadium, right? Penn State.
Boo.
Yeah, they can't get over the hump. I don't like them, but looking at them from a regular place, non-rival place, they can't get over the hump. Okay. The Pittsburgh Pirates. I sent you 2 videos. They have one of the worst plays in all sports history. That one's been covered pretty well by literally everybody.
So my favorite part of that video, for those of you who don't know, there was they were playing the Cubs. It was a ground out, and they throw the ball to first. It was a bad throw. Instead of just tagging the base, because the runner was like halfway down the line to first base, instead of tagging the base, he chases the guy who runs all the way back who goes all the way back to home plate. And then the guy who was on second tries to score. They mess that up. And then the guy gets all the way to second. So, yeah.
And then scores.
Yes.
Same inning.
My favorite part about that was the fact that they could have just tagged him even after the runner scored, and the run wouldn't have counted because he has to make it to first.
Which I didn't know was a rule.
I didn't either, which is why I found it's the most Pittsburgh Pirate thing ever.
Yeah. The Pens, one of Tabitha's, well, actually, they just she is no longer 3 for 3.
Oh.
She is now
okay.
The Islanders just won the game, I think, last night. Just won the series.
All right. So
which also makes sense.
Penguins haven't
severely
been
underperforming.
Yeah, but Penguins haven't been relevant since like the early 2010s. Yep.
Yeah. Also, she's now. I just realized she is now 4 for 2 because the
2 for 4, 2 for 4, not 4 for 2. 4 for 2 would be 2.
She was. Oh, she missed 2.
Yeah, 2 for 4.
Okay. Sorry. I apologize. Because she picked the Preds.
Math is hard.
And they also
Math is hard.
They also lost. Dude, again, I haven't had my coffee.
We're not wearing pants. Yes, we know.
We're not wearing pants. Philadelphia sports. Eagles are, I think, in the history of the NFL, are the team to go from first to worst the fastest.
And then, well, they do it both ways. They do it hard both directions. They will go from worst to first, and then they will go right back. Yep.
Yeah, and it's the fastest, and then they also, what we used to say as kid is they take those ashes and they burn those ashes, and then they burn those ashes, and they put them in a trash can and they burn those ashes. So they didn't do it just like low key. No, they did it
right away.
Blazing saddles, making sure everybody knows that you're crazy. Okay. And then who else do we have? Oh, yeah, the Phillies spent all that money and probably suck right now. And I'm just going to assume they suck right now.
I believe that is a correct assumption that the Phillies do suck.
Pennsylvania sucks. Let's look
and Pennsylvania has an obscene amount of potholes. Like PennDOT, get it together. How hard is it to fix potholes?
Yeah, they overstretched themselves. They overreached in the 1920s with getting the farmers out of the mud, and now they have too much infrastructure that they have to put up.
And the salt on the roads is ridiculous, and it's rusting out my car. And
it's just Pennsylvania, do better. Okay, I love you, but do better.
And we're not going to move because we're just going to complain like most millennials. We're not going to do anything about it. We're just going to, just want to complain about it and then put it on YouTube.
I'm pointing out what's wrong. Okay. First step is always saying something's wrong. Simeon, 2021.
I think first step is recognizing you have a problem.
Yeah, first step is recognizing something's wrong. That's what I meant to say. First step is that's
nope, that's a new one. First step, saying something's wrong.
I have to clip that. I 100% have to find that, clip it, and it's going on our soundboard.
Okay, so like the 15-minute mark. Start looking around the 15-minute mark.
Yep, perfect.
All right. Again, it's Friday morning. We partied last night. We're not wearing pants, and it's about 85 degrees in my upstairs where I'm shooting the pod currently. So that's why this
in your podcast studio.
In my podcast studio, yes. All right.
Live from the Duke Schlicker podcast studio. It's the 4th and 1 podcast. Okay, on a serious note, before we move on to your next point, sorry, just one last thing before Julio Jones. Thank you to everybody who supports us, 4th and 1, anchor.fm/4th and 1 podcast to support us. Thank you so much. This is really brought to you by you. There are people why we are the worst podcast in the world. We are brought to you by you. We love you guys. Thank you so much for supporting us, liking, commenting, subscribing, the whole nine. So,
heart.
Julio Jones is on the move.
I didn't want to talk about Julio Jones. I said I wanted to do the NBA series review.
He wants to do the NBA series review.
The worst podcast ever, full of wild accusations and apologizing for it later.
Figured it out.
All right, you want to start round one?
You just give me the series and I'll take it from there, my brother.
Utah, Memphis.
Donovan Mitchell. So this series had a little bit of drama in it. Memphis stole the first game. It's best out of 7. So the lower seeding team, they have one goal: win one of the first 2 games on the road. And Memphis was able to do that in game 1. However, the bigger storyline is that Donovan Mitchell, who had been out since the end of April with a high ankle sprain and felt like his recovery process with the Utah Jazz was going slower than it should, decided to start before the playoffs, rehabbing with his own trainer, and that kind of sped the process up, and he felt ready to go. He even sent out a tweet. He said, "I feel good, let's go." During shoot around, he felt good. Quinn Snyder, the head coach of the Jazz, thought he was going to go, and then he was a late scratch. Well, then he took to Twitter, Donovan Mitchell, and kind of been like, "I don't know what to tell you. I was ready to go." And it grew the tension in between Donovan Mitchell and the Utah Jazz. And you have to remember last year, Rudy Gobert kind of didn't take the whole COVID thing seriously in the beginning and was like touching mics, and then gave it to Donovan Mitchell. And they had to repair that relationship in the offseason. So it was this franchise with their star, Utah doesn't get a lot of stars, so when you get them, you got to hang on to them, i.e. John Stockton was the last one before Donovan Mitchell. You got to hang on to them, and they're kind of just building tension with it. And I believe, can you look it up, Simeon? I believe he signed a max contract. So he is tied there. Can you just look that up? Or if not, this kind of goes into that situation of things that you got to be looking at.
Yeah, I think he signed. I'm just double checking here because he's in the last of like his rookie contract for signing max contract. That was November 2020. So yeah, so he just signed a max contract.
Okay. So he is locked to that team. Well, locked to that team. NBA stars aren't really locked to their teams, but it's just something to keep an eye on. Donovan Mitchell in the whole series with the Utah Jazz. Now, the next day after this whole debacle, went to Twitter and said, the Utah Jazz Twitter feed says, in the starting lineup, game 2, Donovan Mitchell. So they quickly tried to repair it. They quickly saw that they were wrong. First of all, it's playoffs. If the guy's anywhere close to being healthy, even if it's an 8 seed, you got to play. Donovan knew that. For whatever reason, Utah didn't know that. So they lost game 1 because of that. And then in game 2, they scored 149 points and they beat Utah. I think that this is Utah's series to lose from now on, just because Memphis is so emotionally spent at this point. Although Ja Morant had 47 in game 2, so they ain't no scrubs. But with Donovan Mitchell there, they're a more complete defensive team. I just think that this series goes 5, maybe 6.
Did Donovan say, first, kudos for him for wanting to play and rehabbing on his own.
Mm-hmm.
He did exactly what the NFL is keeping their players from doing, which sucks.
The NFL isn't keeping their
playing. Who
for,
scratched him?
The NFL isn't keeping the players from doing that. The NFL just wants them to do that in their facilities, and you can bring your own trainers into the facilities as well. Tom Brady did that has been doing that forever.
Well, he did that up until he got kicked out.
Now he's doing that in Tampa.
Right, but that's one of the reasons his trainer got kicked out.
Right, I mean,
in New England. Okay. That's one of the reasons he's not in New England.
Let's not get into Tom Brady right now.
Yeah. Did he say who scratched him? Did Donovan say who scratched him? It was
the training staff, the Utah training staff. He went to shoot around. He said he felt fine. He looked fine according to the Utah announcers, and
those are the things that's like before. Just a quick hit, like GMs getting involved and training staffs getting involved.
It's one thing if it's game 39 of 72,
right? But when you're in the playoffs,
this is game 1 on facing an 8 seed who you don't want to give any life to. The 8 seed you got to strangle and then just hold it.
Yeah, this just sniffs of a GM getting involved.
Yeah, well,
that's what this does.
So I was reading, and Utah has a history of being very cautious with their stars, being very conservative.
Okay, how'd that worked out for Stockton? Sorry,
he never beat Michael. I guess
he never beat Michael, and he's one of the best players who doesn't have a championship.
Yep.
But we're gonna move. We're going to move on.
So it's Utah's series to lose at this point, as long as Mitchell plays.
And it's the training staff series to lose for Utah.
Yep, for sure.
Dallas Clippers.
So Clippers are on the verge of losing Kawhi Leonard, I believe. So Dallas went and stole game 1 right out from under LA, because LA is the 4 and Dallas is the 5. And then Luka came, and Kawhi did all he could in game 2, scored 40-some, but Luka's ridiculous. It's Luka and Ja's league, and I'm going to narrow it down even further. I think it's Luka's league. I think... Yeah. So
I'm looking at the stats right now. Yeah.
So the problem with the Clippers were Paul George had a terrible game 1. He had an okay game 2. He didn't shoot the best. And then they're not getting any other production from anyone else.
Well, didn't we... Sorry. Oh my gosh. Didn't we say that if the Clippers are kind of like the other LA team, the Lakers, if your backup star isn't doing what he needs to do, you're not going to win a game?
Correct. But he still gave you 20 plus points. But if you look in game 2, I don't think anyone else scored over like 10 points.
Paul George is sorry, that's rebounds. He has 9. Okay, sorry, I have to look at. Wow, this is really nice. Okay, hold on. Before I give you that information, leading players, series stats for the series. Okay.
Yep.
For the Dallas Mavericks, points: Luka Doncic. Rebounds, 8.5, Luka Doncic. Assists, 9, Luka Doncic. Blocks, 1.5, Luka Doncic.
He's a monster. He's a monster. It will be as long as at some point during the end of LeBron's tenure as this reign as king, as long as he beats him now that he's in the West, and it even could be this year, I feel like that torch is being passed, because LeBron is showing serious decline this year.
To answer your question, 33 in the series, 33 points a game, for Kawhi, 25.5 for Paul, and then it drops to 10 for Nicholas Bateman.
Right.
So, yeah.
It's Nicholas Batum, by the way, but I won't fault you for that because it's spelled like Bateman. Yes, I know.
Yes, sorry. There's no other M there. To put it in perspective for Dallas, Luka, of course, 35. Hardaway Jr., 24.
Michigan guy. Hardaway Jr.
Porzingis making a nice comeback, 17.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We thought he might be out, and then 12, 10, 9. So the whole team's getting involved there.
So, and listen, Kawhi, this is the last year of Kawhi's deal. Kawhi can leave in free agency.
He's going to go back to Toronto.
Not a lot of people know that, but that's the thing. Kawhi and Toronto, that Toronto team was a lot better than people gave it credit for. Like, they had Kyle Lowry, they had Fred VanVleet, They had Pascal Siakam. They had a lot of complementary players. And the problem with LA is when you get these two superstars is the complementary players go like this. The list starts shrinking. And so you got to make sure that those complementary players really are able to get it done. And they're not getting it done for the Clippers right now. And they're getting it done for Dallas. And Dallas right now, I did not give Dallas enough credit. I was giving Kawhi Leonard far too much credit in his ability to carry team. But the supporting cast in Dallas is better. And right now, this could be a sweep. Honestly, it could be a sweep because no one's stopping Luka. You read out off the stats earlier. No one's stopping. And Kawhi even guarded him in game 2. No one's stopping him.
Dallas is the lower seed, so they're in LA tonight?
No, they're in Dallas tonight. That's why I'm saying the next 2 games are in Dallas. Texas is just about their attendance policy. They're going to have close to have a full crowd. The Mavericks fans are absolutely insane. So this could be a sweep, everybody. And that would just make NBA free agency even heat up even more. And it's already the most anticipatory blah, blah, blah.
Anticipated NBA free agency?
No, anticipated free agency of all the major sports. That's what I was trying to say. And I messed it up.
Got it. That's fine. One note, and Luka, take note here. One note for Kawhi coming into free agency before we move to the next game.
Yep.
Don't take a max. Go back to the East, or you'll be a joke. No joke.
What?
You'll be a crybaby who got his way and was wrong.
So
that's what you will be. You'll be a brat who said, I don't want it this way. Went to Toronto for a loan, left to go to LA because that's where I wanted to be. Got a max, wasn't able to perform, and now you're a joke. Sorry, Kawhi. You're a great player, but you're not LeBron.
I think, and there was some conversation after. You're absolutely right. He's not LeBron, and there was
you're getting beat by a 20-year-old.
Yeah,
a white guy from Eastern Europe. Okay. You're getting beat by a white guy
who wears number 77. Okay.
Yeah.
He wears number 77. And that's the most ridiculous part about this whole thing is that Luka wears 77 and he's averaging 35
he's not even American.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
You're getting beat by Europeans.
Is that a little racist towards Europeans?
We're allowed to be. Okay. This is good patriotism. And if they're white, it's not racist. We're
fair.
good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
So
he does.
I'll allow it.
He needs to go. Maybe he can go back to San Antonio. I don't know. But you're right. He needs to
go back to the East.
But
go to like Miami or something.
The East
where you
isn't
have Jimmy Butler.
The East isn't going to be any easier.
Yeah, it is.
No, it's not.
Who do you have to get past? Giannis?
Andrew Holiday. Okay, we're gonna talk about. I'm going to talk about Drew Holiday in a minute. Just go to the next game because I'm not interested
Denver,
in
Portland. This one looks interesting. Because you have the MVP and then you have the MVP.
So the problem with this series is Denver leaves 2-1. Portland won game 1 and then has lost the next 2. The problem with this series is Portland's problem. This has been Portland's problem ever since Damian Lillard has kind of had this ascent to MVP type status. is they get nothing from their bench. Their starters play almost the whole game. They got great starters, but they got nothing else for you.
They have no depth.
They got no, and they have to travel more than anyone. So at some point they just run out of gas. And they had a nice little stretch there. Their last 10 games before the playoffs they were 8-2. They had to win, they're on their last day to avoid the play-in tournament. Dame's playing out of his mind. Dame Lillard, it's Dame time. I love it. CJ McCollum's playing well. Norman Powell's playing well, but their bench, they just got nothing from their bench. And then Denver, even without Jamal Murray, Austin Rivers is stepping into that role nicely. Son of Doc Rivers, who coaches the Philadelphia 76ers. Austin's got a couple clutch genes. He hit big shots at Duke. He's hit big shots for Houston. He's hit big shots for New York. He's just... and then you have the MVP also, and in game
who's
one,
not going to get the MVP, unfortunately.
No, he should.
Snub in the world.
He should.
I'm not. He has 36 points and 3.
I think he will. I think he will get the MVP.
I'm trying to figure. Oh, that's series stats. So 36 points.
So in game one, Portland was like Portland let him score and didn't let him assist or rebound, and they haven't been able to keep him off the board. I'm getting a phone call. I got to answer this.
Okay. We'll be back.
There we go. Thank you so much for holding everything. I had to take a very important phone call. We are the bestest, worstest podcast on the internet, and that's just another reason why. So I believe we left off at Denver and Portland, and right now I think Denver looks,
Portland.
Jokic is the MVP. He just kind of makes that whole thing, that whole train go. I think that this series could go 7. It could swing the other way. And listen, if it did come down to game 7, I'm probably taking Damian Lillard. I'd pick Damian Lillard, but at this point, I think it's Jokic's series to take in 6 or 7 games.
Yeah. Again, you look at the stats, you realize Portland's getting no production off the bench, which makes sense for how their team's kind of built. But also at the same time, Damian and CJ need to understand that they need to get production off the bench in order to win this game, because the Denver's getting 5 to 10 points off the bench, which isn't, that's enough to swing their points. Shout out to Michael Porter Jr. for living up to his expectations after being injured.
Yep.
So good for him.
Good for
Aaron
Austin
Gordon's
Rivers,
on this team now too,
that.
so good for him as well. Good for Austin Rivers. He's been. It's nice that he's been able to bounce from contender to contender, but that's beside the point. All right, let's go to the last
Lakers.
game.
I believe
West,
we all were kind of
Lakers.
hesitant because of LeBron James and Anthony Davis. Both you and I, and then Gamer Girl said that. We all picked Phoenix. We all said it'll probably go 6 or 7 games, but we were all very hesitant because LeBron was just coming back from an injury. Well, Anthony Davis also is coming back from injury. He looks fantastic now. He is. It's Kobe, Shaq, Elgin Baylor, AD, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who are the only Lakers to average 30 points or to get 30 plus points and 10 plus rebounds in consecutive playoff games. So he's going into playoff mode just in time. But the bigger story here is Chris Paul. Chris Paul got injured in game 1, and this has been Chris Paul's career. He has a fantastic season, and then with a fantastic team, he's got a good shot, and then he gets injured in the playoffs. It has happened most recently with Houston a few years ago. It happened all the time in New Orleans, and then both when he was with the Clippers as well. So it's kind of a bummer. He is playing, but he is not nearly 100% when you watch him play. LeBron at this point is just playing with Phoenix. No one can guard him. They are getting production from Booker and Aiden, but that's pretty much it. They needed Chris Paul. These are close games. So if Chris Paul can get healthy by the end of the series and Phoenix can just hang around, maybe they got a shot. But honestly, if Chris Paul does not get back and cannot kind of be the point guard that he is, one of the greatest point guards of all time, honestly, the Lakers might win the next 2 and just win 4 straight and kind of carry on the tradition as they did last year. They lost every game 1 in the playoff series and then won the next 4. So,
yeah. Only note I have: Lakers are playing team ball again, which they didn't show in like defense, the Warriors game, playing game, and that sort of stuff is what I'm seeing from the stats. They're playing defense, and Chris Paul looks like he's like the oldest guy on the team. You need that person to be able to facilitate in the playoffs and know.
And this was really Devin Booker's shot to assert himself into that Luka Doncic and Ja Morant conversation. To be possibly the next guy, because he's been kind of called a Kobe light, if you will. He's very similar. His playing style is very similar to Kobe. He's just a little less athletic and a little smaller. And if this would be the perfect opportunity for him to do that, even though Chris Paul is still playing, he would get all the credit if he would start just going off. But they're just locking him up. Contavious Caldwell-Pope.
Yeah.
I honestly think the Lakers could win the next 2 games easily if Paul doesn't get back to being healthy.
It's you look at I'm just looking at like the shot charts, and both teams are underperforming.
Both teams are playing fantastic defense. This is a very close series, which is why that. Again, if Chris Paul can just get his shoulder semi-right to where he can give you 15 points a night, this series is turning. I thought that this series was going 7 anyway, but unfortunately with that injury, it might go 2 less. It might only go 5.
Yeah.
Let's go to the East.
Yeah.
Brooklyn, Boston. This one's easy. Boston just doesn't have enough to compete. Jason Tatum's a monster. But that's just about all he is. He's not getting production from anyone else. And then Brooklyn, you got Kyrie, you got James Harden, you got Kevin Durant, plus you got all that bench production because they do have a lot of depth. For a team that has 3 superstars, and we just talked about Portland, we just talked about LA with the Clippers, and they're not getting any bench production. Brooklyn's getting all the bench production as well. The one thing I will note, so Brooklyn, the big 3, Kyrie, Harden, and KD had only played 9 games together before the playoffs started. It shows late in games, especially in game 1, down the stretch in game 1, because game 1 was close, game 2 was a blowout, game 3 is, I believe, tomorrow night. It was a lot of ISO ball. Give it to James Harden. Let him play ISO, try to get a bucket. Give it to Kyrie Irving. Let him play ISO, try to get a bucket. Give it to Kevin Durant. Let him play ISO, try to get a bucket. These players are so great that they were able to do that, and they were able to beat Boston in game 1 this way because Boston doesn't have enough. The problem is when you get to Philadelphia when you get to Milwaukee, they have the depth and players to match up with you defensively to where going ISO late in games might not get it done. So I would be very tentative picking Brooklyn in close games going forward because they just don't have that cohesiveness. And yes, they are 3 of the best 10 ISO players in the league at this point in time, but James Harden played ISO in Houston, and we saw how far that got him. Never made it to the finals. We saw Kyrie do it. He only made the finals with LeBron, and KD has really never been an ISO player, so he can get a bucket at any time. But again, ISO only gets you so far. They're really going to have to ramp this thing up quick. But this is going to be a sweep. It's going to be a short series, so they're going to have to figure something out kind of on the fly.
Yeah, this is where we'll see Steve Nash kind of come back in have to show us what he's got. And I agree with you. Brad Stevens is out at the end of the year. I feel bad for him because he's actually is a good coach, but he'll find a landing spot. He can also go back to college if he needs to. But when you have this much talent, there's no need to.
Well, they did make the East Finals last year. However, in a weak Eastern Conference, I will give him that last year after the bubble. So I really don't count last year's stats, and I'm going to get into it with Miami here in a second. But I'm not holding the playoffs against him because he is without Jaylen Brown. I am holding the regular season against Brad Stevens because he totally underperformed. You are absolutely right. Tatum and Brown are two.
They shouldn't
talented,
be the 7th seed.
And Kemba. And then you added Evan Fournier at the trade deadline, who is he's not a scrub. And right.
There's a problem that Marcus Smart is leaving you in most stats.
But he's not that good.
Marcus Smart is good. I'm not hating on Marcus Smart. I'm just saying.
Agreed.
He shouldn't be leading your team. He's your Draymond Green, who's better than Draymond Green. Which kind of leads me.
Milwaukee is only a 3 seed, but they're leading because of Brooklyn, and Philadelphia got really hot there. Milwaukee, the addition of Drew Holiday is just paying so many dividends. So they went out and traded for Drew Holiday. I like the move. Jeb, if you rewind it to preseason or one of our preseason, he said that was a terrible move. I liked it a lot at the time. Drew Holiday is not a scrub. He is an all defensive team type guy where, for those of you who don't know, they make teams of the best defenders in the league. You have 1, 2, and then 3. And he's been on that list twice. He'll probably make it again this year. He's absolutely shutting down Jimmy Butler. Plus, he gives you 18 points. Chris Middleton, who hit the game winner in game 1, is playing. And then Giannis is doing his thing. But the addition of Drew Holiday not only gives them being able to match up better defensively, he kind of spaces the floor, and he gives you another ball handler late in game, so you can't just focus when Giannis is kind of shut down because Giannis can he can't really shoot, and Chris Middleton can't get it done. You can give it to Drew Holiday, who can go get a bucket.
Leading the teams in assists right now, that says enough. His plus minus is 29,
and
29.3, which is
that's ridiculous.
Yeah, plus, not minus.
So it's
I have no idea what plus minus actually is. I think it's like basically when above your replacements.
How many more points does your team score?
Yeah.
So they are basically 30 points better than Miami when Drew Holiday is on the court.
So, which is ridiculous. He's grabbing both defensive and offensive rebounds.
They
good on them.
They are very complete
points off the bench.
Team. And so I want to make 2 points. One about Miami, one about Milwaukee. First about Miami. Miami last year, again, I touched on it just a minute ago, that I thought the bubble season really shouldn't count because, it should count, but it's going to have an asterisk.
It's going to have an asterisk in the book.
There's no way Miami they were a 4 seed. They weren't playing that great before the season shut down and before the bubble. And then they got really hot. And Jimmy Butler got really hot. And and Tyler Hero and Duncan Robinson, another Michigan guy, got really hot in the bubble, and they just couldn't miss from 3. And when you're a perimeter-oriented team, the Warriors will tell you this. Every perimeter-oriented team ever will tell you this. You live by the 3 and you die by the 3. You live by the perimeter shots and you die by the perimeter shots. Houston, the 2016 through 2019 teams in Houston with James Harden, they will tell you the exact same thing.
Yep.
So Miami was kind of fake last year. I'm just going to put it at that. Bam Adebayo, Giannis, now that he doesn't have scoring responsibilities, he can really lock people up defensively because of Drew Holiday. So Drew Holiday just kind of makes this team go around. So I will say, and my point about Milwaukee is this. because they will probably play Brooklyn in the second round. My point is this. They match up really well defensively. You put Chris Middleton on KD or Giannis on KD. You put Middleton on Harden, and you put Holiday on Irving. And this team is one of the top 5 defensive teams in the league. They match up really well, and now you're going ISO against 3 really good defenders. And Giannis will switch on to whoever late in the game, or Holiday will switch on to whoever late in the game. So you're going ISO against defense, and history has shown that defense normally wins that battle. I'm just saying, Milwaukee looks really hot right now. Milwaukee's a good pick to make the finals.
I agree with you. Going to probably the most interesting game in the playoffs, most interesting series.
So the Knickerbockers, this is their first playoff appearance
against the Atlanta
since
Hawks.
2012. They just got their first playoff win since 2012 as well. This is
D Rose is showing vintage D Rose right now.
The series is tied at 1. Atlanta stole game 1 on a buzzer beater by Trae Young. And then kind of the Knicks battled late because Atlanta is another one of those teams. They live by the perimeter shot. They die by the perimeter shot. And they died late in game 2 with the perimeter shot.
Yep.
The Knicks are playing well. They probably should have won game 1. They are a very good defensive team. They defend the 3 very well, which is what the Hawks like to do. The Hawks have a lot of good scoring. I wouldn't say they have a lot of stars. Trae Young's fine. He's a little small for my taste. I think that if they do advance against Ben Simmons, that's just not going to even be fair because Ben Simmons is 6'10" and he's like 6 foot maybe. He's basically me, 165 pounds. So Knicks really should be up. I feel like the Knicks should be up 2-0. The thing that concerns me if I'm the Knickerbockers, as you say, Simeon, is Julius Randle, most improved player. He averaged 24 and 10.5 rebounds during the regular season, is not playing well in the playoffs. D Rose has had to pick up a lot of the slack. D Rose playing very well, very vintage. I don't really like his neck tattoo. Kind of reminds me of a little Illuminati sort of going on. But, to each... Yeah, could be,
the way he's come back, it could be the Illuminati. Illuminati confirmed. We see it's clearly a Tibbs,
grinding it
Tom
out.
Thibodeau, Yeah, but you see that's the reason that he's kind of come back. You see, he went from the Bulls to the Timberwolves, got fired last year, came on, and when D Rose was playing his best, it was in Chicago under Tibbs, and now again in Knicks. He wavered there. It's weird. But good on him. He clearly had some mental health stuff.
After knee
good
injury.
on him for coming back. I agree on you. I'm not going to add anything.
This series will probably go 7.
I'm not going to add anything.
I will say that, and I think it's a pick-em game. But Julius Randle needs to show up because it could be a very quick series if he does not. He leads them in scoring. He needs to score. Where you at,
sure.
Where you at,
100%.
Julius Randle? I'm a big fan of yours, so come on, pick it up.
Yep.
So Philly, Washington, the media kind of tried to
Philly,
stoke
Washington.
up situations of past Joel Embiid and Russell Westbrook getting into it. Well, that's the past is history. Philly is Philly's deep. Doc Rivers plays 10 guys. Joel Embiid hasn't even had to do that much because Ben Simmons and more specifically Tobias Harris they're both showing up. But more specifically, Tobias Harris. Tobias, in the playoffs, this is kind of what you were brought in to do. You were brought in to be the guy in playoffs because when it gets down to it, they're going to shut down Joel Embiid and they're going to shut down Ben Simmons. Who's that third option? It's got to be you. And so far, he has shown up. Now, I will say this. Washington is not very good defensively. They kind of get whatever they want. They're just bigger than Washington right now. So when they do play Atlanta, who is a perimeter shooting team, or New York, it's going to be a tough series. But honestly, they should have no problem making the Eastern Conference Finals. They got to make the Eastern Conference Finals because they are the 1 seed. And because who the 4-5 matchup is, you got to take care of business. You got to sweep the Wizards. And Embiid, you got to figure out how to be dominant in the paint and stop turning the ball over when they double you. Double you? Wow. Double you. Okay.
Hey, nice. I'll allow it, Yeah, I think the
Lost train of thought? Yep.
I'm sorry, I just lost my train of thought. Again, depth is what's getting, I think you're 100% correct on Embiid.
So what
but
I've also
you have,
yeah.
I mean, he has 3 turnovers. Wow. You're 100% correct. I think the addition of Seth Curry, George Hill, Danny Green, huge for them. Also,
because
I think they'll be okay against the perimeter team.
Yeah.
However, you're 100% correct where Joel needs to do better. Like, the team lives and kind of dies when
right
he's
now,
your spirit
Doc
animal.
Rivers is a
your
great
team kind of
coach.
lives.
I knew that he would immediately fix the Embiid kind of Simmons situation. How they both kind of clog the paint is whenever Embiid's not in the paint, that's exactly where Simmons is, and that's you're basically having another center. The problem is when you get to these half-court games later in the playoffs against Brooklyn, against Milwaukee, in the second round, or even in Game 3 against Washington, you're going to have to, how this team is built is you're going to have to run a lot of motion to get open shots, or Tobias Harris is going to have to be the guy, because teams have figured out how to stop Joel Embiid and how to stop Ben Simmons in the half court when it comes down to it. And so it's either going to be a lot of motion, which again, Doc Rivers teams are very good at, or it's going to be Tobias Harris, which so far is working for them. So more to come on Philadelphia. But promising start for them, definitely. But
promising start. What did you think about this Westbrook
it is.
popcorn situation?
So
which is such a Philly move.
I want to preface what I'm about to say with this. Every fan who interacts in a poorly manner with the athlete, and I'm not talking about heckling, I'm talking about racist comments, I'm talking about dumping popcorn on fans, I'm talking about spitting on Trae Young. A New York Knicks fan spit on Trae Young in Game 2. Again, racial slurs, all that. I'm not talking about that stuff. When that happens, that fan should be thrown out and then banned from attending sporting events at that arena. And in all of these cases so far, in the Utah situation, Ja Morant's parents got racial. It was fan to fan, so I don't know how that happens. But when it's fan to player, the fans are kicked out and banned. The popcorn fan got kicked out and banned, and the spit fan got kicked out and banned. Okay, so the arenas are doing what they're supposed to do. I will say this, though, with popcorn and Russell Westbrook. And Russell Westbrook has had a history of interacting poorly with fans, especially in Philly. One white guy stood up and gave him the double bird, which, again,
which was hilarious. And also isn't offensive. I think that guy got kicked out and banned.
Keyshawn J. Will and Zubin kind of talked about that. I don't really have a problem with a fan giving a player the double bird. Yeah, it's not kind. But again, that's what, especially Philly sports fans, that's what they do.
Yeah.
Saying you suck, you're a bum, heckling like that.
Yeah.
I have no problem with that. Is saying F you to players and things like that. That happens. It happens in the street. I can walk down in downtown Lidditz, purposely run into someone and say, "What's your problem?" And I'm going to say, and they're going to say, F, you to me. Okay. So I don't have a problem. I have a problem again with the spitting, the popcorn, the racial slurs, all that I have a problem with.
Yeah.
Russell Westbrook seems to take exception to the littlest things and wants all these fans banned. Now, again, the popcorn fan shouldn't have happened. But here, I'm going to lead with this. Or I'm going to come at you with this. LeBron James took to Twitter and said, we should be able to find this fan and throw him out, which they did, which I'm not sure why he got all up in arms. And he said, and Russell Westbrook is like, this is getting ridiculous. Some of the things I hear, some of the things people say to me. Again, Not talking about racial slurs. So some, this is just crazy that the fans are allowed to behave this way. We want to be treated like regular people because regular people on the street wouldn't want to throw hands. Russell Westbrook, you are being treated like a regular person, except you're getting paid $40 million. I am a nurse. I have been kicked, punched, spit on, bitten, called just about every name in the book, except I can't say racial slurs. So you got that one on me. I've been called every name in the book. I have not been thanked. Nursing is a thankless job. I have been abused. And guess what? I can't throw them out of the hospital. I have to, guess what? Walk back in there in 4 hours and do my assessment.
Yeah.
Walk back in there in 2 hours and give them a medication and pretend like nothing's wrong. Yeah. I have to listen to family members scream at me. You are being treated like a regular person. The only difference is you are making $39,990,970 more than I am.
Yeah. It's ridiculous. First of all, you can go throw hands if you want to. Go into the stands. They call it the Malice in the Palace. Go into the stands. You're just going to get fined. You're not going to get kicked out. You're not going to get suspended.
Was holding Russell Westbrook back. I mean, he was, which I think is a little overreaction to popcorn being dumped on you, but that's neither here nor there.
Sure, you can go into the stands. I'm gonna add on this. You won't. NBA players are the second softest players.
Who's first?
And close to the softest players in all professional sports.
Alex would agree with that, I think.
Soccer players. But soccer, soccer players, they just whine. They've gotten better over the past couple years.
All they do is whine, yes.
But NBA players, oh my gosh. They whine. They won't catch you outside. Okay? I am so not scared of an NBA player if he started.
Joel Embiid
except
would
for Joel
throw
Embiid,
hands.
because I feel like he would mess me up. But when you're from Cameroon, you would mess me up. Like, you're 100% correct. Dude, you're getting treated like a regular person. You're fine. You're getting paid millions of dollars. Don't be a crybaby. You know who wouldn't care? We have a soundbite.
It became personal with me.
Guys, Michael,
man.
Michael.
Man.
Oh, Michael Jordan. Sorry. I was thinking of Magic Johnson. I was thinking of Magic Johnson. I thought I was saying Magic Johnson. All
right. Fair enough.
No, I thought I was saying Magic Johnson. Oh, by the way, someone who had AIDS. You don't see Magic Johnson complaining. You don't see Michael Jordan complaining. And guess what? They played in a time where if someone said the N-word to them, those people wouldn't get kicked out. Okay? We've come a long way. The fact that you got popcorn thrown on you, okay? Racial slurs,
popcorn guy being kicked out and banned. I'm good with it. Like I said, it should not have happened. I wish that these things would not happen. But guess what? You want to be
you should not have
treated like a regular person. You are not.
Yeah,
you're not zoo animals.
But
right?
also,
well,
it's popcorn.
No, you kind of are. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
that's literally your job.
Yeah, you're an entertainer. You're not an army guy. Okay. If it's an N-word, if it's a racial slur, 100%. Okay. I don't think Luka Doncic is less because he's European. I just think we're better, and so I hold them. No, that's. I think America deserves to be better and should be better. But you're also complaining about popcorn. You're not complaining about someone throwing a racial slur at you, which is something the NBA should be standing out. And here's the problem, is you're conflating the two, which you're comparing the two, which devalues the actual racial issues that you're suffering. So, no, you're being an idiot. I am going to call you out on it. You're being an idiot. Dude, you could easily take me in a fight. Act like it. Show some meekness. Show some integrity. Someone throws popcorn on you. I get you're passionate, okay? I get it. I am
Bradley,
too. Walk into the tunnel.
A fan 2 years ago heckling.
I know
Bradley
that's easier
Beal.
said than done.
And he ran out of the tunnel, and the fan goes, "Bradley Beal, you a bum." Bradley Beal stopped because Bradley Beal is not a bum, who plays on the exact same team, and kind of did this face to him. Like that. And it became a meme. And then guess what? That fan ended up having a conversation, and then that fan got a picture and a selfie with Bradley Beal. Okay. Right. But
which was very nice of Bradley Beal. Don't get me wrong.
It really grinds my gears when, yes, again, horrible things being said, being spit on, being popcorn. Yeah, that stuff should not happen. But it's gonna happen, especially when alcohol's involved, when passionate fans are involved, when these fans live and die with the success of their team. These things are going to happen. Being heckled and things like that. You got to deal with it. And I like your point about the fact that I'm sure Michael heard the N-word. I'm sure Magic heard the N-word and things about AIDS. And back in those days, those fans weren't getting thrown out. And people are like, well, Stephen A. Smith made a big thing about these fans need to go up on the Jumbotron. You need to embarrass these people. And again, that's not the solution. You don't give a face to... the news never puts terrorists' face on because they don't want to promote. They don't want to promote terrorism. Don't promote these people. And the Philly fans were pointing when he dumped popcorn. We're pointing to the guy who did it. We're pointing.
Yeah.
Right. We're pointing to the guy who did it. The Madison Square Garden spitter was... the fans helped track that guy down. Like, these fans are found because there are so many cameras. They are punished. You guys have got to calm down. There are people making far less amount of money going through far worse situations. And I'm okay having a conversation with you, and I'm not trying to crucify you, Russell Westbrook and LeBron James, but you guys have got to grow a little more of a backbone. Okay? A little bit more of a backbone. You're absolutely
Remember
correct.
how I said we're softer?
100%.
This is why everybody thinks that the 80s
and
teams
watching,
could beat,
I was always on
the
Warriors would absolutely demolish them. I am now fully on board with the Michael Jordan 90s teams, the 80s. Right. No. You're not being beat. They would trash talk you so... They would just Michael Jordan was so good at just emotionally just taking you apart. And
the quote is from Phil Jackson is,
Michael wanted to beat you at life.
Kobe wanted to beat you at basketball.
Yeah.
Right? Michael wanted to beat you at everything.
Yeah.
And when you have that sort of guy, get out of his way.
Yeah.
Like, he grab his coattails and ride him because he's going to be a ton of fun. But if you're on his team, it's a lot of fun. If you're not, if you have to go up against him,
absolutely,
you have to grow a backbone.
Yeah.
You want to talk two things before we wrap up?
Yeah.
Weird injuries and beef.
Okay, so the weird injuries, we kind of mentioned this, and I just kind of want to throw this in as a palate cleanser here before we wrap up. The MLB, we touched on this maybe a month or so ago, how the MLB always has weird injuries. Well, a Cleveland Indians pitcher, I just want to pull it up to get his name right. Yes. Breaks his right thumb ripping off his shirt.
Classic. Well, what is the quote from Terry? Rather aggressively ripping off his shirt.
So while
in the clubhouse.
why
boys will be
NBA
boys.
And soccer players are soft emotionally, MLB players might be the most soft physically.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, because Yeah, no. MLB
but
players,
literally, but also they'll fight
you hit a home run off of a pitcher and you look wrong at him. Next thing you know, you got a 90-mile-an-hour fastball coming at your head, which I hate, and that's a conversation for another time.
Yeah,
right.
Those are pitchers being
Nolan,
soft.
Yeah,
but
like
you come at the Nolan Ryan. But yeah, if you want to hold on, I want to talk about this for a second. You're 100% correct. Physical
punishment.
They're not at all.
And because baseball literally is a finesse sport. Now it's one of the most. Now it's probably the hardest finesse sport. That and golf, but
100%. Yeah. Okay. So a couple things here. First of all, if you want to fix baseball, you got to move the pitcher's mound back. I want to talk about this probably next week about fixing baseball because Rich Eisen says some stuff. I'm somebody who enjoys watching baseball because it's finesse and I like seeing finesse. But if you want to talk about hardest players, softest players, right? You have like hockey players are probably the hardest, right? Because they'll lose a tooth, right? Whatever the case is. They also have the least amount of pads. Football players have started moving down the list. And MLB players are they're really close. Like you have hockey players and you have like a small gap, and then it's NFL and baseball players.
And
then a large gap, and then it's NBA players and soccer players.
So when batters and pitchers start fights with each other, because normally that's how fights work, the batter has an actual weapon in his hand he could use. He gets rid of it and then decides to go throw hands. He says, oh no, I don't need this weapon that I could literally kill you with. I'm going to drop this and go throw hands with you because you said something, threw at me, or, did whatever. Baseball fights are a rarity. I wish not that the MLB would promote them, but that the MLB wouldn't not promote them. They want fighting out of the game. I wish that they would allow it a little bit more. Throw hands.
Sometimes you have to, I'm all for talking your problems out. Okay. There's this, I forget who it is. He keeps getting accidentally thrown out by Twins pitchers. I think it's a White Sox player. Because he can't hit up and inside pitches, and so the Twins keep throwing up and inside. Which, if you miss by a couple inches, you're hitting the guy. So he's the most hit player in MLB right now, and they talk it out. He hasn't thrown a fight. He's wanted to. He's gotten frustrated, but most of the time they just the catcher gets involved. He's your diplomat.
Right. Well, Wilson
gets involved and goes, "Hey, dude, we're throwing there because you can't hit that pitch."
Who actually was the runner who scored in the Pirates situation? For those of you who want to DM us, we'll give you the link. It's an asinine play of just how bad the Pirates are.
Yeah.
But Wilson Contreras, he keeps getting hit by Brewer pitcher, by Brewing, by Brew like it, and he gets frustrated. He's talking, but sometimes things just happen.
Yeah, but then you have issues. Then you have stuff like, and I get it was the 80s, but still, you have the age-old, the two best fights, in my opinion, in MLB history. Okay, number 2, the Nolan Ryan fight, where he just absolutely owns the rookie. The quote from Nolan Ryan is he kept.
And Nolan Ryan was like
fist.
43 at that point. Like Nolan Ryan was like,
the dude had
just manhandled.
You saw a bald spot.
Yeah,
the dude manhandled man-strength. And then my favorite fight was the Francisco Lindor and I forget his name for the Blue Jays. It was like over a bat flip plus a slide at second base, and Francisco Lindor just got a punch in. And those are the type of you want, and I'm going to move this over to beef. Beef makes the sports, okay? There's a reason everybody loves El Clasico in Spain, okay? Oh, by the way, UEFA, get the F out of investigating people for the Super League.
Yeah, get the F out, UEFA. UEFA, you suck.
You have...
Did I do it right?
Yeah. You shouldn't be... Yes, you did. It's like Congress It's like
fair enough.
Congress investigating MLB for steroids. That's kind of what's going on right now. One of these things should not be involved with the other. But beef is good, okay? I know you don't want physical violence, but also the UFC exists for a reason, ladies and gentlemen. Okay? We like to see and when violence occurs in a non-violent sport, it's great. And here's the deal. Ladies can do it too. It's not a sexist
I would tune
thing,
into
okay?
WNBA
Ladies
if all
like
of
to
a
see
sudden
violence
they start
too.
throwing
Some of
hands
them do.
more. Let's go. Let's go.
Oh my
Candace
gosh, if
Parker,
there's more
start
beef in the
throwing
WNBA.
hands.
Yeah.
That's the only W.
Yeah, listen, I saw an ad for the WNBA. It goes, there's still trash talking in here. I'm like, yeah, okay, no, there's not. Shut up. Like, but the great example here, you have it here listed is beef, is Bryson DeChambeau and somebody else who he had visible disdain
okay.
for.
Well,
I don't know if it's actually Rogers.
Golf has started to do these things where they will match up rivals from another sport with golf rivals, and then they will play as teams against each other. And so Bryson DeChambeau, although he has beef with Koepka,
I forget who it is. I'll look it up.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yes, Brooks Koepka. They have beef right now. And that makes golf for me, who somebody
I will not. I will not.
I will watch golf. Okay? I will watch golf if Brooks Koepka, if that's who it is, and Bryson DeChambeau are a pair.
No, but they're not.
They're all mic'd up. We can hear them talking. If they're, I want it. I want it so bad. I want at hole 17. I want a fight to break out, them to get broken up, and then someone just sink a putt from 30 feet.
You know,
oh my gosh,
Dad's always said,
do you know
what
how,
I think
do you
would
know how
make
good
golf
that would
more
be?
Interesting? It's if every time if you go to swing, if whoever you're paired with is allowed to just run at you and try to tackle you.
Yeah. 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 If you put violence in non-violent sports,
that'll be the title of this pod.
Extremely interesting.
Put violence in non-violent sports. Book it. Write it down. Well, I think that's all the time we have for today, ladies and gentlemen. This has been the 4th and 1 podcast. Yep. As always, wash your hands because y'all are filthy animals. Wear pants or don't, depending on it. Yeah,
it's going to be a nice week, but still,
however,
maybe it's going to be hot.
Public,
don't wear pants.
Please do wear pants. Please wash your hands. Please have a conversation and not a crucifixion. A crucifixion, which I think is what I said last week. And Tab is like, that's a word. I'm like, I'm pretty sure it's not. Yes. Have a conversation, not a thank you. Not a crucifixion. I am Micaiah. That is Simeon. We are the 4th and 1 podcast. God bless. Peace out, guys.
Thanks, guys. Peace.